UFC 271 was fun, man. A lot of great fights, a little bit of controversy in the main event, crazy knockouts in the co-main event, and the Cannonier vs. Brunson fight. Moicano with a solid performance, Bobby Green putting on the best performance of his entire career at a young 35 years old. Arlovski is still doing the thing, man. All his fights seem to go very similarly, not much difference between each time he fights some young guy who's non-ranked. What I have to say about Andrei Arlovski is, he's an inspiration. The way his career's been going, he's 43 years old. Not only 43, he has so much wear and tear on his body. You could just physically see he doesn't punch the same anymore. Like, he just cannot physically punch the way he used to when he was younger. He was a knockout artist when he was young. The reason why he hits these guys and they don't go away, I don't think he could generate the same kind of power because of how much has happened to his body. The amount of damage he's taken in his career and the amount of times he fights at the age that he is crazy. I mean, he fights 3 times a year. For most fighters, that would be normal, right? 3 fights a year, that's nothing. But for Andrei Arlovski, that's kind of crazy. And dude, it's pretty crazy. Andrei Arlovski's fought in 4 different decades. 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. He's like one of a few fighters. Kyler Phillips showing up, getting that armbar submission. Carlos Ulberg with a pretty interesting performance. He didn't fight like he's known to fight, right? Everybody knows him as a knockout artist. He's extremely fun to watch, but he fought a lot like Adesanya tonight. Didn't really expend his gas tank. It did enough to win the fight. But it was something to be expected, especially the way Ulberg's last fight went. Sherwant was just staring at him the whole time. I understand he's a good-looking guy, but did you have to stare at him the whole fight? The comeback of the card, Douglas Andrade, had a rough first round and then coming back, dropping Morozov, constantly rocking him, catching him with hooks, and then eventually caught the submission. Blood Diamond didn't really show up to a lot of people's expectation. I had some people ask me why I would pick Ronnie Lawrence as the prospect of the night and not the Blood Diamond. You can't buy in hype too early, man. You gotta look at skills. Ronnie Lawrence is a well-rounded fighter. He's really good. He's young. Blood Diamond's a little bit older. Hasn't really showed wrestling. Most of what you have to ride on were some of his striking skills and hype. But Jeremiah Wells being a black belt in jiu-jitsu, there's no wonder he made short work of Blood Diamond. And with that, man, let's jump right into that main event. A little bit of controversy. Seems like a lot of people believe that Whittaker won the fight. I ran a poll on Twitter and about 40% out of about 6,000 votes believe that Whittaker won the fight. That's a lot of people. I don't believe Whittaker won. I think Adesanya won 3 rounds out of the 5, but I think the fight falls on that 3rd round. How do you really score it? But at the end of the day, we found out how effective Whittaker's wrestling was going to be. In the first fight, that's what we're all calling for. Is Whittaker going to wrestle? He didn't wrestle. This time he wrestles and it was extremely successful. He got the most takedowns against Adesanya, tied with Marvin Vettori. He didn't ultimately do anything with it. One time he got his back, so that was a little scary moment. It would have been interesting to see Whittaker actually go to the body. He did tag Adesanya with a lot of jabs to the head, but ultimately, man, Izzy wins by leg kicks again. He dropped Whittaker in the first round though. That was a sharpshooter of a straight left. Caught Whittaker right through the guard and everything. I mean, Adesanya's precision is insane, man. When he lands, it's always picture perfect. But ultimately, who Adesanya and Whittaker should fight next? It should be Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. That's the fight that makes the most sense. It's the fight I've been waiting for years. And as for Robert Whittaker, I guess you could do Whittaker versus Vettori. That's the fight that makes the most sense, and have like Sean Strickland versus Derrick Brunson or something. Or you could do Whittaker and Sean Strickland. That would be interesting as well. If Paulo Costa ever decides to fight back, you could throw him and Sean Strickland. That would be an interesting fight. Actually, I would like that one the most. Have Whittaker fight Vettori. Yeah, man, Whittaker's in a weird spot. He's gonna have a long road back to that title shot. And then we go to that co-main event. Tai Tuivasa KOs Derrick Lewis in the second. The way the fight played out was not something I expected. Swinging and banging was certain in the fight. But Derrick, the All-American Lewis, getting those trips, controlling Tuivasa on the ground very well. And then when he started swinging, right hand after right hand connected on Tuivasa's head, I thought that was going to be the end of the fight. I did not know Tuivasa's head was made out of adamantium. Not only did he take the shots, come back and KO Derrick Lewis, after taking more punches on the feet, mind you, he said after the fight that he never even felt in danger. He actually was thinking in that moment. He said he was thinking how to get out of that position when that was happening to him. How are you getting hit by Derrick Lewis and say that you weren't in danger? That's so crazy, man. It reminded me of when Roy Nelson fought Derrick Lewis and was able to take all of his shots as well. So now we know, not only is Tuivasa very powerful, not only is he very fast, he's a lot more technical than he was before, he's dangerous in the clinch, he has good leg kicks and stuff like that, he's athletic, but maybe only Francis Ngannou can knock this guy out. And that's a maybe. To just imagine that anybody could take Ngannou's punches, or even Derrick Lewis's punches, is wild, right? But Tuivasa, a young guy, hasn't taken too much damage in his career. I mean, he did get rocked before against Greg Hardy, right? Greg Hardy put on his shaky legs a little bit, but the punches from Derrick Lewis were definitely clean, man. It's not the first time Derrick Lewis has been knocked out in his career. I mean, for those who remember, he was KO'd by Matt Mitrione when Matt Mitrione ran into him. Just literally ran into him with his body, with his forearm, and put him down. Derrick Lewis looks like he has a very good chin. He has a pretty good chin. He's getting hit by monsters to get knocked out like that. But in the heavyweight division, man, it's not the level of Tuivasas or Roy Nelsons or prime Mark Hunts or prime JDS or something like that. Derrick Lewis doesn't have a chin like that. And man, Mark Hunt's probably so proud. And now, Tai Tuivasa is probably going to be ranked in the top 5. That is so crazy. I didn't think it would be this soon. I thought eventually it was going to happen, right? But Tuivasa's 28 years old. He's such a young heavyweight. I mean, early 30s is pretty young for the heavyweight division. He has a bright future ahead of him, man. I still remember that one breakdown I made about him when he first fought in the UFC. His athleticism completely shocked me, and now look where he's at. I'm not going to lie, a lot of it was because Derrick Lewis took this kind of fight. A lot of guys who are ranked number 3 are not going to fight guys who are ranked number 11. Lewis is the kind of guy that would do that. You know, he's a very similar character to Donald Cerrone. He'll fight anybody. But most guys, you know, like a Michael Chandler when he was ranked number 3, like he would never have fought a guy who was number 11 or something. You know, it doesn't make any sense for them. There's a reason why that never really happens. There's a lot of risk for every fight that you go into. And that kind of fight has barely any reward to it. So can't wait to see who Tai Tuivasa fights next. In my opinion, who I would like to see him fight, I want to see him get tested against Alexander Volkov. That would be a good fight. From one of the biggest brawlers in the division to one of the most technical strikers in the division, Volkov should be an interesting one for Tai Tuivasa. Now, how much is Derrick Lewis going to drop in the rankings? Because here's the thing. He just knocked out Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus is number 7. So there's no way you could put Lewis below Chris Daukaus. Do you know what you do? Derrick Lewis versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. That's the next fight. And then we go to Renato Moicano submitting Alexander Hernandez in the second round. A lot of second round finishes on this card. Hernandez was kind of forcing a lot of his attacks out there. He wasn't really just flowing in the fight the way Moicano was. It seemed like Moicano didn't see any substance to what Hernandez was doing. He didn't really feel in danger in the fight. Moicano knew he had the grappling advantage in this one. As long as he's defensive enough on the feet to get away from these winging punches, he should be pretty good in the fight. That eventually came that blitz. It started with a shoulder. Moicano rose up with the shoulder. I don't think it was on purpose. It might have been. And then just ran him down into the fence. When the rear naked choke was getting sunk in, it looked like Hernandez kind of already knew what was going to happen, so he just tapped immediately. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with tapping to an early submission. When you know you're beat, you're beat. So great fight for Renato Moicano, man. And then we go to Bobby Green defeating Nasrat Haqparast by decision. He looked fantastic, man. Bobby Green at 35 years old in his prime, putting on these kind of performances. The crowd cheering for him was so heartwarming, man. If you've been watching Bobby Green for a long time, you never would have pictured that. You never would have pictured a whole crowd, not even his hometown, chanting his name. If he fought in California or something like that, then you could probably see it. But in Texas, man, that's a bit different. He was so fast in the fight, just letting his hands go, counter punches, the jab was on point. His boxing skills in general were just far superior. Nasrat abandoned the leg kicks very early, which were going to be extremely successful for him. He didn't use any kind of footwork, didn't create any kind of momentum with his movement, didn't create any kind of elusive target, sat in front of Bobby Green, trying to go back and forth with him. When you're fighting that kind of fight, timing becomes the skill that is most dependent on. And Nasrat just did not have it. He's powerful, man. You could just see the way he threw that left hand. Heaviness in those overhands. But Green was just way too fast, and he saw all of them coming. And he didn't even wrestle. Bobby Green didn't even have to wrestle in the fight. Just boxed them up. We know that Nasrat could have threw more leg kicks, but we also know that Bobby Green could have wrestled. This showed to be a clear mismatch between the two. Bobby Green, in my opinion, should be ranked right now. Top 15, number 15 in the lightweight rankings. I think he should replace Diego Ferreira because Diego is coming off 3 losses. Yes, they're all against top 15 fighters, but look what Bobby Green did with Fiziev. They had an extremely close fight, and now Bobby Green just beat Nasrat Haqparast. Bobby Green should be number 15, and I think he should fight Brad Riddell. That's a fight, man. And that's the end of the video, guys. It is pretty late, 9 in the morning now. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.